Welcome to another chapter of the Tao Te Ching. Here we're going to be covering chapter 57. Laws are all in the heart. This is something that a lot of people don't want to address. They talk about things like, well, we need religion because if we didn't have religion, we would all break laws. We need laws because if we didn't have religion, if we didn't have laws, then everyone would be a murderer. I don't believe that. I've never believed that. Even as a little kid, I was like, well, why would you be an asshole if, like, why do you need somebody keeping you from being an asshole to not be why is that necessary? And this one, laws are all in the heart, really kind of states that if we got rid of all our laws, people would treat each other well. If we got rid of all of our laws, if we got rid of all of the etiquette, if we got rid of all of the things, if you were to follow the law in your heart, if you were to follow Tao, when it talks about learn to be silent, the last verse, we were talking about this idea that if you know who you are, you're not compelled to try and express who you are all the time. You don't have to make a statement because you know exactly who you are. This one is tied to that because when you know who you are, there's no law to break. And you wouldn't try and hurt others or have what they have, or greed and all of these things that cause laws to be broken don't exist. So you live in harmony. So let's get into this and kind of look at what it says. Tao governs all things by discarding objectives, never possessing or interfering. All things only need abide the law in their heart. In this way, they will be free from desire. When Tao is ignored, objectives rule the day. Rules are created that make people expend energy to get around them. Intelligence is praised and rewarded, while products become more demonic and intrusive. Weapons are paraded. Fear spreads, and the hearts of all things close off. As litigation becomes a national focus, politicians and criminals multiply. The master needn't engage these traps. She is quiet, and people follow their light. She is peaceful, and people are compelled to be honest. She does nothing, and all things flourish together. Have no desire, and all things will achieve primal existence. Desire closes off the heart. Want closes off the heart. That's what causes laws to be broken, murders to happen, because people have desire. That's at the core of so much. Like, I want something, or I want to avoid something, or I have a fear around something. And all this does is close off your heart. And there's a law on your heart. There's a law in your heart, as this says. And if your heart is closed off, do you have access to that law? No. And so that's what this is saying. It's in the first line. Tao governs all things by discarding objectives. Here we are, we're living in this world, and we're like, oh, you got to have a job, and you got to have a house, and you got to have a wife or a husband, and you got to have, or you got to have an identity, and you got to have these things, and you got to have, I don't know what advertise, you got to have it, but like whatever it is, we are forced in this world of commodity and consumerism to have things and to want things and to have objectives, right? How many self-help jerk-offs has it taken to tell you, like, oh, like if you don't have a goal, then you're not going anywhere, right? You need objective. You need objective. You need to have an objective. You need to have a goal. And it's like, that's all so stupid. There's a law in your heart. There is a law that you are going to be moving towards something, regardless of you organizing that in a way that makes you believe you're in control. Tao governs all things by discarding objectives. It doesn't want you to have an objective. Never possessing or interfering. It's not trying to get you to do anything for it. All things only need abide the law in their heart. In this way, they are free from desire. Why would you not abide the law in your heart? For my terminology and everything, I would say it's because you're under the influence of something else. You're under the influence of your parents who want different things than you want, right? Or who are driven to do something that you're currently not, because they're under the influence of, the capitalistic system or whatever, right? And so this goes down and down and down, and each generation we lose sight of that law in our heart. And some of us might be in our 30s or 40s without ever having even considered that there's a law there that I could know without other people telling me. When Tao is ignored, which has happened, continually over generations, little by little, Tao has been ignored. Objectives rule the day. And if we look at the world today, we can see that objectives do rule the day. It is like, be happier, be more productive, be smarter, be this, be that, be something other than what you are. Right? Want more money, want more sex, want more love, want more, beauty, want more everything. And we have products to service all those desires and all those wants. All those objectives. Rules are created. So when Tao is ignored, objectives rule the day. Rules are created that make people expend energy to get around them. This is we make rules, and then everybody is trying to get around those rules, right? Like those rules become like a red herring. It's like, we have new rules now. Put all of your attention on the rules, try to get around the rules, try and not, and it's just distracting and silly. And it's being made because we all are believing in fear, and we're believing in all of these things that kind of come up, and we're not in touch with the law in our heart. So we need rules to tell us what to do. Intelligence is praised and rewarded while products become more demonic and intrusive. And when we think about that, right, like, let's look at the world today, right? We're praising people who have intelligence or who have the appearance of intelligence, right? Because so many people are fooling everybody, right? We got people fooling people, like there's fraud and all of these things everywhere, right? Because everybody wants money. Everybody wants the same thing. Well, when you get everybody wanting the same thing, people are going to cut corners in order to get it. Because that's the world that we created, right? Because we have created rules. So rules are created that make people expend energy to get around them. And people are trying to get around them all the time. Intelligence is praised and rewarded while products become more demonic and intrusive. I mean, look at the products that we have. I mean, from cell phones and everything that's in them and all the apps and all the things. And like, these things are demonic and intrusive. It's like they're literally being designed to become addicted to. Weapons are paraded, fear spreads, and the hearts of all things close off. And when that heart is closed off, you have no access to the rules that were written within it. As litigation becomes a national focus, politicians and criminals multiply. And let's look out at the world. There's lots of people getting into politics. Just as people are getting to the point that they recognize politics can't do anything for them. And it's a place where, all the money is getting washed, and all the, it's all coming down bad at the moment, just as this sort of starts to settle, as this stanza of this verse starts to express. Tao is ignored. Objectives rule the day. Rules are created that make people expend energy to get around them. Think of all the fraud that we're going through, all the different frauds that we're going through at the moment. Intelligence is praised and rewarded while products become more demonic and intrusive. And, that intelligence, that doesn't have to necessarily mean, it could be someone who's smart enough to, become famous in a world like this. I don't know if I've mentioned this on this forum before, but Confucius says, there's nothing to be proud of when you succeed in a broken society. If you're succeeding in a society that's lost, well, then you're just all the more lost. And I take that to heart. I do agree with that to a high degree. The master needn't engage these traps. She doesn't have to engage in politics. She doesn't have to engage in criminal activity. She doesn't have to engage in the rules of society. She has a rule that's higher than that. And trust me, if she follows that, there is no rule in society that is going to keep her from living her life. She is quiet, and the people follow their light. They don't follow her light. That's a big difference, right? Like when you come in and you're quiet, like it said in the last verse, learn to be silent. So if you haven't looked at 56, you're going to want to look at that one. She is quiet, and people follow their light. She doesn't tell them what to do. She doesn't tell them what's right and wrong. She doesn't tell them what is needed to be praised or anything like that. She's just like, lets them be. She is peaceful, and people are compelled to be honest. And that's the thing. Like, we're living in a world of politicians and criminals. Nobody wants to be honest. She does nothing, and all things flourish together. And that's the doing nothing doesn't mean not doing a thing. It's like things are being done, but they're being done from a place of not having an objective. And then we finish this one off, and it says, have no desire, and all things will achieve primal existence. Now, that doesn't mean go out of your way to be like, I want to have no desire, because that is desire. Having no desire is something that you arrive at. It's something that presents itself and that you receive. Having no desire isn't something that you achieve. It's something that when it happens, you see it for a split second. And then once you've seen it, desire comes back in. And so it's almost as if if you have this in mind, it's going to come about, and it's not even going to be something that you recognize, and it will just exist. And like the thing is you're not going to be able to celebrate having no desire, because there's no desire to want no desire, and that arrives on its own. It's a complex thing, because we're saying here, like, have no desire, which means don't want to have no desire. Just have no desire, like that. And it will fall away when you follow doubt, when you recognize that, like, oh, the rules are affecting me, or I want things to be different. I want things, like, when you can receive everything life sends you from your own, like, experiences being, hurtful or like, that's the thing. Like, you wouldn't define it that way once it happens. If you are defining it as like, oh, that's painful, I want it to stop. Like, of course, there's abuse and other things like that we're not going to get into. But I want things to be different. When we say I want things to be different, that's desire. So all we have to do to move towards this is recognize where our desires are. We don't have to say, I don't want them around. We can say, I recognize this is a desire, and that's okay. And leave it there. And keep engaging it. Or, a friend of mine once told me, like, you're going to do it until you don't. So if there's something that you desire that you don't want to desire, recognize that you will desire it until you don't desire it. And just observe. Just sit back and live your life. You're not doing anything wrong. There's a law in your heart. Just open your heart, and there you'll be. Thank you so much for joining me for this chapter of the Tao Te Ching. Until next time, keep recovering yourself.